Aaron Dykes here for TrueStreamMedia.com, and as many people know, the Bilderberg meeting for 2013 is going to start in just a few days. There'll be protesters there in the UK outside of that meeting, and it's apparently coming right on the heels of a big Google conference held at the same hotel and more or less overlapping, because as we've seen in the past several years, the big tech agenda is aligning itself with the globalist agenda of the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the royalty of Europe, and the other people from the Anglo-American sphere of influence who circulate around these Bilderberg meetings. And here's just the list from 2012. It's interesting to analyze the list from all these years, but you see various technical people, especially American Silicon Valley-based tech people, meeting with big government officials and big advisors and Rand Corporation and Hudson Institute people, and on and on and on. And among those are the Bilderberg Steering Committee member Peter Thiel, who's known for helping to launch Facebook and make it the gigantic company it became, and also for being a PayPal executive. He's been on lots of other projects to boot. But we also want to talk about Eric Schmidt, the former chairman of Google, who actually got heckled and confronted by a crowd in 2011 at the Bilderberg meeting in Switzerland. That was pretty hilarious and interesting. But Eric Schmidt, who's a de facto leader of Google even after he has left the chairmanship, has a new book out called The Digital Age. He's co-written it with Jared Cohen. We'll get to him in a few minutes. And they make predictions on what the new digital age will see. I'm sure the book is very fascinating, but it's not truly predictions. It's really just advancing talking points and propaganda that's been agreed on at the globalist level as they set their agenda and then pursue it. So here is Eric Schmidt with some of the teasers for the book about the new digital age. We'll see every crime and atrocity caught on camera. And there's really no doubt that they have a big brother society that's already emerged and will continue to harden and cement unless we stop it, where they want cameras on every street corner. They're going to track everything you do online. They're going to log you in a database with facial recognitions, even walking features, even the sound of your voice, even if they know you're completely innocent. Maybe in every sector of life, but they want to be able to track you and market you for consumerism and marketing databases, but also maybe even if you're law-abiding, they'll find out that you weren't paying your alimony or your child support money, or maybe they'll just squeeze you down the road when it's time to go after your pensions. Either way, they want to log nearly everything you've done in a database. They predict the new digital age will see a military response to a cyber attack. And this is particularly, almost patently aligned with the Bilderberg agenda. And we can look at some of their agenda meetings from the years past. I think it's this tab. Here's what they list for their summary agenda, and they've got a few different languages, but this lists maybe 10 or 12 talking points for each year. And generally speaking, all the way going back to 2008, you'll see something about cybersecurity or cyberspace emerging, and that's because they've created it just in the last couple of years, since 2010 I think, the new U.S. Cybercom, which is based out of the National Security Agency, the NSA, and it will be doing offensive as well as defensive cyber warfare things online, going after supposed hackers, supposedly defending countries against cyber attacks, and also, as I mentioned, launching unilateral offensive things against countries they want to take down, including Iran. But it's also what they have done in the Arab Spring revolutions throughout the Middle East. I will get more to that in a moment, but let's look at these agenda points. In 2012, they talked about how sovereign states will collaborate in cyberspace. In 2011, they talked about economic and national security in a digital age. That very much means Cybercom, and the head of U.S. Cybercom, who's concurrently the head of the NSA, General Keith Alexander, has been going to most of the Bilderberg meetings for the past several years, and no doubt he's there talking with Eric Schmidt and other big tech leaders, people from Microsoft, about those issues and more. Here they are in 2010, talking about the growing influence of cyber technology. And then if we go back a couple years to the previous decade, we see in Greece in 2009, they talked about cyber terrorism, strategy and policy. And in 2008, they also talked about cyber terrorism among their many other issues like this one, a new order, the United States and the world. And so Eric Schmidt, again, is launching these globalist talking points that not only represent the direction that Google and other internet and tech companies are going, but the direction that the big New World Order controllers are going. So a cyber military response. That's coming, and they've already launched those attacks against Iran and other countries. Pills that tell your phone what's wrong with your body. And there's a lot of different variations, but they've got digital pills that feed off of elements of the body and power them, and will send information back through RF or through other high-tech systems to computer databases, supposedly to diagnose the body, but also to track if you're taking your medicine. Or they've got a new plan from DARPA that's merging with, I think, Google, is it? About how to track whether or not you have authentication, including online.
It's a password authentication.
They have a password authentication system, pill that you would swallow that would give you online authentication, really creepy. So Eric Schmidt and Jared Cohen say digital insurgencies will bring down autocratic leaders. Well, again, that gets back to the Arab Spring stuff, which I want to talk about. Here's Jared Cohen, the co-author of that book, The New Digital Age, best-selling author, senior fellow at Council on Foreign Relations, has affiliation with Condoleezza Rice, Hillary Clinton, etc. He focused on counterterrorism or counter-radicalization in the Middle East and South Asia, and especially with internet freedom. This is a big tip-off to the role that we know was played by Google, by Facebook, by other high-tech companies. Oh, by the way, he's a Rhodes Scholar. That's very meaningful. How all these high-tech companies participated in the Arab Spring. They are, in fact, agitators. And it came out in the news how an Egyptian revolution, that was the first big Arab Spring thing after Tunisia, which is a smaller country, how it began on Facebook. And indeed, some of those supposed agitators went to jail. And it came out also that a Google employee was behind the Egyptian Arab Spring uprising, and that supposedly it wasn't officially this Google marketing executive, Wael Ghonim. Of course, I don't know how to pronounce that name. How he was a Google marketing executive, but the Google company wasn't behind that. But they're proud of what he's done, and they support him while he was in jail, basically on protest. And he started a Facebook page that essentially led to the uprising. Well, Tony Cartalucci and others have been very much on the cusp of showing how the Arab Spring was manufactured from groups like Brzezinski and George Soros' International Crisis Group, and how they've got controlled groups like the, March 6th or September 6th group that started the Arab Spring uprisings, how they met with the State Department, were sponsored through grants, etc., from the National Endowment for Democracy, through Freedom House, and through all these other groups, and that basically Western NGOs are actually behind the Arab Spring. And while we may love to see democracy in the Middle East, while we may support using the internet for democratic and anti-centralized action, we must be very wary of those being just masks for hegemony for Western states, for creating puppet states in the Middle East that are subservient to the U.S. and basically under their thumb. And here they talk about the April 6th movement. This is Tony Cartalucci's article, and he's demonstrated how the whole thing was supported. That's a whole nother example. But Jared Cohen, Eric Schmidt, Google, Facebook, these companies were involved in the Arab Spring, and they talk about digital insurgencies bringing down autocratic leaders. They're admitting it, and they're readying you for this to be an agenda talking point. Unprecedented power in the hands of people. And that could be a good thing, but again, it could also be controlled by these same companies, and we have to learn to differentiate our own personal power from the power that's being fed to us through the digital culture. Parents talking to kids about online safety and security before the birds and bees, probably just kind of a sign of the times. And other talking points, I'm sure, and the end of the delete button. Again, everything will be stored in a database, and whatever you do online, they say, will be stored forever, and all your various accounts will be linked together, and goodbye to privacy, goodbye to the Fourth Amendment. And this book has been endorsed. 5 billion new people online. That means the developing world increasingly online. That will be very interesting to see. And I'm thinking about reading this book, even though I know it is Agenda Talking Points. But Eric Schmidt of Google, his book has been endorsed by Henry Kissinger, who's a war criminal and a criminal against humanity and a huge Bilderberger. Richard Branson, who bragged about being part of the Illuminati recently in a tongue-in-cheek joking video. Oh, and Madeleine Albright, who said it was worth it to kill 500,000 Iraqi kids, that was worth it to get control of the country through sanctions. And basically, it doesn't matter who we kill. And all kinds of other nasty people. He's got more endorsements on what? Reshaping the future of people, nations, and business. That is real New World Order talk right there. And again, Eric Schmidt's been going to Bilderberg every year recently. Here's General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA, endorsing the book. The guy who didn't know what the Fourth Amendment said when he was asked in a press conference and said, no, that doesn't include a warrant or probable cause. That probable cause didn't really, he knows what's in the Fourth Amendment, and it has to be a reasonable search and seizure. There doesn't have to be probable cause or a specific warrant issued from a specific person making a specific allegation. And here's Michael Hayden, who knows better, of course, backing this new Big Brother society where all the public will be searched, will be watched, will be tracked through online cookies and technology. And again, it's all integrating with Google, and that's their new book from the former Google CEO and this other guy who's part of the CFR and these Arab Spring uprisings. Just wanted to analyze that with you and show you some of the stuff that I know that's going on with that. We'll bring you further Bilderberg coverage, and we'll definitely discuss it when the list comes out about who's on it, who's new, and who's the typical people who've been carrying this out for many, many years. Signing off for TrueStream Media. Thanks for putting up with my ranting. Hope you're enjoying the coverage, and please keep following our site.